Okay, guys, I really even shouldn't be doing this. This is the second ding-dang time I've had to try this because the bloody little um, Ethernet thing wasn't plugged in or whatever the hell this is, and it won't work without them. And it should, but it's a piece of crap. Live and learn. Anyhow, I even went to Loki and I said, I told him how I felt towards this book and everything, and I was like, I really don't want to make this video, I'll just skip it. And he's like, no, you should be honest. And I don't know if I'll be back in like a week, a month, what it will take to get this computer fixed, and if they are even going to fix it right or what, but that's another mess to deal with entirely. Um, I did not like this book. I've only made it, as you can see, about halfway through. I can't read anymore. I can't do it, guys. I pushed myself to read that much. I really did. Only thing I liked about this was there's a beginning poem, and that's about all I liked. And I really don't even like the cover art, to be honest. There's too much fear of Loki in the book. He claims he's worked with Loki 20-some years, or 19 years as of writing this book. Yet there's so little of their actual relationship. There's more of this pandactic, beat you to death with the Ada's. Right after he says he doesn't really believe in the stories, he just keeps dragging every little bit of history he can or text he can and just beating you to death. And it's so dry. It's really boring in a way. It's really dry and boring to read. It's hard to read. And there's so much fear in it. There's fear of Loki. There's fear of Angerboda. There's fear of Loki's children. There's no sense that he loves a lot of these gods. I really don't even get a sense of love for Loki in it. I really don't, because once you start saying Loki should be feared and you should be terrified and these people can't work with Loki and these people can't work with Loki, I think you're heading for trouble, in all honesty. If you're the writer, I'm not saying that to offend you, dude, but you shouldn't fear Loki. If you take anything away from this channel or from this review, you should not fear Loki. I've had depression all my life, and as many times as I've lashed out at him or even tried to get a response, even tried to get him to fight, he won't do it. He's not that kind of God. He's not this vengeful, terrible Christian God waiting to pounce on you and destroy you the moment you displease him. I'm seeing a lot of pagans, unfortunately, head towards that kind of feeling towards their gods, that our gods were terrible monsters in the past and everybody feared them, so you better fear them too to prove what a pagan you are, and that's not right. He fears, is terrified of the Allfather. That doesn't make me respect him as much as a man. You shouldn't fear and be terrified of the Allfather. Everything bad he could find to say about Odin, he did. And yet, anything Loki did, he excused away. And it's like, you can't do that. We all love Loki on this channel, obviously, but you can't do that. You can't be like, well, Loki could go out and do X, Y, and Z, and it would be okay, but if the Allfather does it, you know, he's damned for all time. You can't do that to the gods. I've never, ever had the Allfather show me a reason to fear him, be terrified. I had the good grace to study in Wicca and still, you know, be Wiccan. And you're not taught to fear your gods. You're not taught to fear the god or to fear any god you deal with. You're not taught to have that mindless Christian terror of the gods. Now, as for how our people viewed the gods in the past, to tell you the truth, we don't know. Unless we get a DeLorean or we get a TARDIS and go back and talk to every pagan that ever existed, we'll never know, and we're never going to be able to do that. Did some people maybe fear Odin? Maybe they did, but I don't like this current theory that we have to make Odin into the monster and the bad guy so that Loki looks good. I really don't like that. And he had nothing but fear and loathing for Angerboda, and he said that she's not a wife, and he treated her children like metaphors, and he said that Loki's more or less referred to her as the crazy ex, and I'm like, what? That's my mother you're starting to talk smack about. What? Angerboda is not for cowards. Angerboda is not for people that can't stand on their 2 feet. Now, I'm not saying you can't be in absolute pain and absolutely shattered and go to her. You can. And she will help you heal through that, because when one wolf gets sick and can't fight on anymore, the other wolves don't abandon them or kill them. Maybe there will be a disordered pack that does, but they'll take care of their fallen. They'll take care of their elderly. They'll take care of the sick. And she has it about her. As long as she knows you're trying, she'll take care of you, and she'll love you, and she'll be the best friend you could ever want. Now, she'll be tough, but, you know, any god will be tough when you need it. Just because they kick your ass doesn't mean you have to be scared of them. Sometimes you need your ass kicked. And I don't know what went on between him and Loki that he has this terror of Loki, but maybe he wrote this from a very dark, broken place. I have no idea, but you shouldn't have a fear of Loki. And you shouldn't be setting yourself up to say, I'm an authority and these people need not apply to Loki, like disregarding, as he called them, hot topic teens, like angry young people. We all get into Loki different ways. Maybe you have to come through the gate of being an angry, upset young teen that only likes Marvel. Maybe you need to come through the gate of having fallen in love with Marvel Loki and married him and stuff. He picks on so much of the community that I have a total lack of respect for this man. I thought that the articles he wrote online were kind of jokes about, like, basically comparing the Allfather to a dangerous predatory monster, and they weren't. It's sad to see someone in the community have so much hate and distrust for the gods. I don't see any love at all except for the ones that are his favorites, but then he really doesn't really show the love. I mean, anyone can say they've worked with Loki for 20 years and worked with this god and worked with that god, but I'm not seeing any evidence of it. Being able to beat you to death with scripture or verse or eddas or anything else, that's not the same as loving a god and working with them. Because when you love and work with them, that fear should not even be there. That fear should not even be a thought for you. Because do you fear your family? I mean, unless you have a very messed up family like I did, you have no reason to fear your family. You shouldn't fear them. They're not going to kill you in the middle of your sleep or something. And the same should apply to your gods. If you're fearing them, if you're terrified, then that's shadow work you have to do. And Angrboda and Loki and Odin and Thor and everyone can help you work with that. And no, his children aren't mindless monsters. And no, I don't think we get to dismiss the gods that we haven't particularly liked. I've started out with a chip on my shoulder towards certain gods, and they've never proven to be anything but kind to me. So the gods know us a lot better than we do, and we shouldn't use the stories as a reason to hate them. We shouldn't use fear as a reason to hate them or just not liking them. You can just not like a god. I'm not saying you have to love every god and bake them cookies and be their bestest friend and worship them all. But at the same time, you know, spreading fear and hatred and intolerance of any god is not a good thing either. Even gods I haven't particularly started out liking, they've always been kind towards me. A lot of people might not have any great love towards Scotty because of what ultimately happened, and I have never been fond of her for doing what she did, but she's never been anything but kind to me, and there's like a lot we don't know of the stories, and a lot we left, and these stories, as Odin has explained and Loki explained, are what we have left. Think of having countless stories, and we just have the scraps that were left, the scraps that Christians decided we could get. We'll never know all the stories. We'll never know what they originally meant. I think they had a lot deeper meaning for the audiences, and I don't think passing them off, a lot of the ones that he didn't agree with, passing them off as jokes or something people made to make fun of the gods, like the story of the loss and recapture of Thor's hammer, he passes it off as a big joke. I don't think it's a very enlightened view. I think it's picking and choosing what you want and building up your own religion, and hey, that's fine, more power to you, but don't pass it off as anything other than that. Loki obviously didn't disapprove, or, you know, the printer press would have blown up or something, but just because Loki isn't going to interfere with somebody's teachings of him does not mean that you go ahead and embrace it. Third Reich could say they love Loki tomorrow, and that doesn't mean that he approves of it. It just means he's not going to step in. Would I say not get this book? I would say it's up to you. You might find something you need out of it. I don't know what you need. It might lead to you having to challenge your beliefs and think, why does this person hate this god so much or like this god so much or something, but I don't think it's going to lead to any deeper love of Loki or any of the gods. It's a very hard, dry read. There's a lot of hate and fear in it, and it breaks my heart to see that towards our gods, because there's no reason to fear our gods. I'm gonna go a couple weeks here without a computer, which to me is my way of staying sane and creating and everything else. But I'm not gonna, sit here and say, oh, that's a perfect reason you should fear Loki or whomever or whatever, because it's all his fault. No, it's not his fault. Things happen, and we can't always blame the gods. So, I don't know if I'll even be able to post this. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to check the audio for quality, and I'm just like really worn out from trying to read this book. But yeah, I didn't like it, and if I had kept silent and not done my duty and said why I didn't like it, I wouldn't have felt like I was being a good person, because I'm not saying don't read the book. I'm not saying he's an evil person, but I am saying that that's what I took away from this. And you can agree, disagree. I'm sure the author would disagree with me, but just because someone writes a book on Loki does not mean you're going to find the Loki that you know or can even remotely respect or like in it. And it does not mean that they're right and you're wrong or something. It means, you're both different. Apparently he's gotten by 20 years operating on what he operates on, and more power to him. But personally, I don't ever want any of you to fear Loki. I don't want you to see him as this monster that you can't trust fully. We have to surrender to our gods and be completely trusting, because it's up to them a lot of what happens to us. I'm not saying sit back and do nothing in your life and expect the gods to do everything, but I am saying you have to have absolute trust and faith with your gods. You have to trust them to be there when you fall. So if you take anything away from the review, take that. Don't fear Loki. Don't fear Angrboda or Odin or any of them. They're not these terrible gods, and we can't just pick and choose and forgive everything we don't like that's ever been said about our favorites and forgive them for it, and condemn the others. That's not right, and that's not fair. Okay, if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.